we also have to improve the raw material, improve the clubs, and improve the whole system around producing youths and the production of youths, so that when these teams come together, we have a better product. And I am hoping that we can build on the performance. I am hoping that this group can continue for years to come. Sometimes in Simonson, we are quick to break down and rebuild, and the course of which they have been training. Um, it is also very difficult for them to get that match fitness or match sharpness when the state of football right now, not having many games and so on. So that could have been an issue, and I hope to see an improved performance in the second game.
All right, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. That's what we're talking about. We're gonna dive into some of the items that we have in our manifesto to assist with this. We have questions coming in, and we're gonna do that. We're gonna meet those questions in a bit. But I want to engage you, Warren. A familiar position that we've been in, difficult position to be in. What would you do? What would we do? What would normally be done to try to get these guys back in terms of into that mental space that they're required to be in for the upcoming encounter?
All right, let me say good night again to everybody and the listening public. Well, again, not to go back too far on what Rohan and Marvin was saying. The performance was pretty okay after our 2 goals and so on. But to go directly to your question, first thing is always analysis of what happened during the game, which we know from looking at the game that it was basic errors, individual errors, we could say, but nothing that we can't correct. The morale shouldn't be too low based on the fact that they would have played so well, they would have defended well, they would have given a whole lot over the 90 minutes. There was some standout performances. We have a youngster there in midfield, Sebastian Alexander, who played very, very well, keep the ball a lot. So the group itself should still be at a high. Now, the coaching staff that is there would now have to go through the material and say, look, guys, we got in behind. The few pieces that went wrong, for instance, the defender who could have just put the ball out instead of fighting with the attacker. Those little things, we can't look down on it as just, lapse in concentration, yes, but also be very. The next time he knows as it happens, he would play the ball out next time. So there's always that learning curve, especially for youngsters. We always talk about improving. These are where the coaching moments come in. I'm very much hoping that they don't hang their head. As far as I know, that the campus still is in some more cohesiveness in how we transition between the defense and the midfield and so on. But overall, they defended well. They kept Trinidad at bay, and I'm absolutely certain that they would be up and ready for the next game. We, as far as I understand, also we were missing one of our key players who would have gotten sick. But he's all fine and should be ready for the next game as well. But Roxel, to our team right now, I'm seeing from these youngsters, they're very highly motivated to do well. They put in a good shift. They ran a lot, and I'm really looking forward to the next game, and I think they would do very, very well. Maybe just if the psychologist is there to speak with them and just go over the game in general and prepare them for the next game. I'm also hoping that they would have gotten film on the Dominica Canada game, so they could now go over some of what Canada has done. This is something that we would have done, and look at the team, look at how they're playing. Never mind, they might play differently against us, but if we know football, some people don't change what they do. Great coaches play how they play. They have their philosophy, they stick to it, and this is we could compete with them as well. As far as I understand, as Marvin said, you know, Dominica came out very, very slow, and basically they put themselves in that hole. If we come out and play as we played, I'm thinking that we will do very, very, very well, as long as all our players are healthy and ready to go.
All right, so that's where we stand in terms of what happened yesterday in that game. Let's move into the meat of the matter, Team Fraser, and what we propose. Before we do that, guys, as we prepare to answer those questions, we have a few coming in. I've seen a lack of identity in relation to how we want to play football. We need an identity that works for us and is deep rooted in all of our national teams. Well, I know for sure that, I probably say that I know that there was some work on this, or an attempt to work on this, which was called the Vinci Way, or penned and offered by team, by the technical director, technical staff to create a Vinci Way. Has that materialized? Probably not as best as we would like it to. It's going to be much more difficult, as I think some of you guys have talked about already, to see that coming into fruition, so to speak. Are we still hiding behind the ideas that Vincentians are resilient people and not coming to terms with our weaknesses, gentlemen?
I may not put it in those words, but as I said, it's time enough that we transform good performances into results, and not all the story not always be that we played well and we should have won. There was systems plan is in motion, and we are now beginning to see the first indications of such plan being put into motion. We already highlighted the positives of the performance last night, and those would have been part and parcel of what they would have been doing at the technical center under the guise of our national coaches. So maybe we need to give it a little bit more time, because a philosophy does not come overnight and you will not see it all throughout. But hopefully these players can help to bring that philosophy to the fore, and then carry it to the under 23 and up to our national teams.
All right, let's continue. We have two more questions. We're going to do that before we actually give you what we are planning to do with Team Fraser and the national teams. We see the potential. What does Team Fraser envision doing exclusively to sustain and develop the raw material? Well, we're going to come to that as soon as we finish these other two questions. SVG Youth Football. The next question down there, they're coming in hard and fast. What would be the footballing philosophy if this team is voted into management of the federation? We cannot continue doing the same things and look for different results. I agree. A change is needed, and it starts with a clear, defined football philosophy for SVG. And that's connected with the first question, so we're going to add that in a bit. Football is a game of errors. It is a team that makes the least errors that wins. The errors that we keep on seeing from our players clearly point to what we will be offering.
Let me jump in here, Roxel. One of the things that you would have to agree on is that last night we made some mistakes that were mistakes that should not have been made. And it has a lot to do with tactics. I mean, you have to prepare players for all scenarios. But even if you do so, I like to tell my kids that one of the things that happens when you are out there on the field and you're playing without the coach. The coach is not there to hold your hand. You are playing, and you have to be playing using what the coaches would have instructed you to do when you are faced with different situations and scenarios. If you don't do that and you don't execute, then you could end up in problems. When you're tired, physically and mentally, you are prone to more mistakes, and that sometimes cost us games. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have players who are talented, and we have players who are fast. And a lot of the times, people, last night, one of the things that I heard around me was people screaming at the Trinidadian players and because they realized that the Vinci players had some pace. Now, how do we use that to the best of our ability? How do we use that as a kind of football team? Is something that has to do with tactics. Is something that has to do with preparation and how we go about for that had at least 6 or 7 overseas based youngsters. St. Vincent, on the other hand, I think had 1 or 2 of help with our reassess our recruitment process. We have to get persons involved in looking at talents across St. Vincent and the Grenadines, local and also international talent, and ensuring that we get as many players in our setup as possible and as soon as possible, especially when it comes to preparation for these competitions. You look at Trinidad and Tobago U20, they played against club teams from the professional setup in Trinidad, and they played against Jamaica. I think Jamaica U20 or Jamaica U23 squad. So they had some competitive practice games going into this competition. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we basically played against some club teams that have not played club football since October or so of last year and have not been really training. And so the quality of competitive preparation that these teams had as compared to St. Vincent and the Grenadines was not the same. And so we have ourselves to blame as the football form to practice, have practice sessions and stuff. But where one of the persons said that the word resilience is being used to kind of shadow our weaknesses. I wasn't thinking about that. I was talking specifically about the game tomorrow and saying that St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we don't just give up easily. We're not a people to give up easily. But that being said, if we go into the game tomorrow and display a level of weakness, a lack of maturity, a lack of psychological preparation, we have to look at that. So we have to start to ensure that we give our national teams the best preparation possible as an executive, and that is what we plan to do. When we there, our national teams are going to be teams well prepared for those. Whether it's like we said, if you look at our manifesto, there's going to be a lot more practice sessions, friendlies, all of these things we're going to have to put into place for all our national teams, whether they be female or male, whether they be youth teams or not, to help our national teams and the setup and everything else is from our clubs. Our clubs are going to have to be well prepared, and we're going to have to give our clubs all the necessary support. Remember, I'm saying that necessary support that is once you're going to have to ensure that all the information, educational support, so that all the aspects of the club would be well intact and sound to deal with all of these things. And so if our clubs are not prepared and producing the quality of players from them, the necessary things to have these clubs be able to produce players like that coming up, then we are not going to be able to have players flowing into the national setup who are capable of thinking beyond the football field and thinking on the football field from a club perspective, and then integrate the leagues, have the leagues in them now. You put the leagues in them in a position where they could facilitate that process. And so when we get there, we're going to sit down and deal with the leagues and clubs and bring them up to a standard that when you take players out of the leagues and the clubs and you put them into the national setup, you have what the person is asking for there, an identity, because
Yes.
the coaches that are going to be attached to clubs, the coaches that are going to be in leagues, the quality of officiating, everything is going to be of the national team. It will decrease the amount of work that the coaches of the national teams have to do, because the technical department would be so functioning that the coaches and everybody would be well trained, well drilled, well attached to clubs, well attached to national teams, would be better for it. I know that.
Well, this is what we're going to go on to, Marvin. This is what we're going to go on to Team Fraser. Where can we help our national teams to be better? We're going to show you what we have planned. And that's this comment that's coming in here. We have heard that the team was in camp and training for some time. Could it be argued that a lack of competitive football, match fitness, cost the lads yesterday? How does Fraser ensure that football does not suddenly disappear again like it did over the last year and a half? Well, I'm going to tell you for sure, when we are given the mandate, once you give us the mandate, you're going to have much more football than you have ever had in a year's time. We're going to organize properly. Football is going to be back on the lips of the Vincentian public once again. This is what we are planning to offer you, ladies and gentlemen, as it relates to our national team. We're going to have to make sure that we promote effective communication. We want to make sure that everybody is in the loop with our national teams. So you're selected? Guess what? There must be parameters, guidelines, clear policies. That's what we're going to do. The parents would know. The clubs would know. The organizations with which you are working are going to know. We're going to make sure that the public knows what who our players are, what we perceive, how we're going to go forward with them. We're going to have that relationship not only with the players themselves, but we want to make sure we have a proper collective relationship with parents, if they're under certain ages, with the workplaces, letting them know when they're training, how they're doing with their training, etc., etc. We're going to have feedback platforms where people can do surveys, where you can give us your feedback in terms of what you're seeing, what is being offered, what we can do better. Comprehensive employee training. We're going to continue to conduct regular training programs to cover the advancement, the leadership skills, and all those other things that we can, getting the right structure to go forward. Player recruitment. Marvin talked about this. We talked about national players, our locally based players, and our foreign based players. We need to develop a structure that is transparent and that is very, very plausible in terms of recruiting players, both locally and internationally. That would be aligned to what? Our team vision and requirement. There must be an impartial selection process. We're going to work in conjunction. Listen carefully. We are going to work in conjunction with the technical director and his staff to ensure that there are parameters, guidelines, clear policies to ensure a fair selection process in emphasizing merit players. You know, sometimes you have guys who are educated, guys who are outspoken, and we look at them differently. No, we want to make sure that they are encouraged to, in a very proper manner, in a constructive manner, in a respectful manner, explain, talk about their feelings, say what they're feeling, promote openness and transparency and trust. That's what we want to do.
One of the things that we have to start to do with our players and stuff is ensure we right now there's a disparity, a distancing, a divorce between the school product, the club product, and that cohesiveness is really, really lacking. We have to start to ensure that our kids understand professionalism from an early
Yes.
age, from a very early age. And so the whole business of us understanding football and where football could take us and how we are to be performing if we want to be professionals. These championships that we are going into, these under 20 championships and the World Cup qualifiers, it is not just for us to compete as St. Vincent and the Grenadines to try to get to a World Cup or get to a under 20 qualifiers, get out of our group. It is much bigger than that. It is an opportunity for our product of football to be seen on the highest stage at the highest level, and our guys must be prepared in all aspect of that. They must be willing to conduct themselves as professionals from an early age, and so get themselves trained, and so mentorship and all of these things are very important, not just when you get to the national team to bring in people to talk to them, to try to build their character, but doing it from a primary school level, getting them to understand that they must be willing to take care of their own equipment, clean your shoes, clean your socks, prepare yourself, take care of your uniform. And these little things, you keep training the kids and them, and you bring them up as professionals. When you give them the professional for the future, so you give them a proper professional environment, you ensure that when they take the field as if they are playing a very competitive game, performing for the future. So they start from that age and they go and they groom themselves going right up until they reach the national teams. Some of our players who are in the national teams, if you put them to sing the national anthem, they can't. Anthem is playing, some of them are not even standing at attention. They're not able to sing the song because we're not inculcating those aspects of patriotism and professionalism coming straight across the board, so that our players, when they reach the stage of the national team, they go out there and they play with heart right to the end. They jam with heart right to the end. And so these are some of the things that when we get there, we have to ensure that these kind of mentorship programs and evaluations are done from a club perspective, professionalism from the clubs, from the schools, all through, right through. A standard is set, a clear standard is set right across. So apart from all the things that we've discussed, our national teams, our clubs and leagues, these are three of the most important aspects of our manifesto. We have listed a number of things for persons to go through. For us to debate and discuss everything that is in there tonight, we would definitely and could be here all night. So we encourage you to read a lot of it, and then we could all move forward together with it. Yes.
Definitely. And as you can see there, we're going to continue to do a lot more in terms of our national teams. You're going to have the coach, player, professional, personalized sessions, as we would call it. Guys, no two players are the same. And Mr. Rohan Thomas Jr., in our methodology and pedagogy classes, you would hear we speaking about the principle of sports training being of an individual matter. Yes, we're playing team sports, but we have to individualize it. Each person we must look at each person an individual and meet their specific needs. A lot of the needs that sometimes are not met if we look at them in a global session. And then finally, for sure, performance-driven incentives. We're going to implement incentives, increase incentives to tie to what Marvin just said, commitment and performance. We want to see heart. We want to see people fighting. And with that fight, with that drive, with that heart to represent St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as we would like to do with your blessing for sure, we would definitely strive to reward you in the best way possible. We have some comments coming in, guys. They're coming in very hard and fast. Can you speak on safety, first aid, emergency response, etc.? Often in world news, there are stories of players having health emergencies. Can you speak on that, Team Marvin? Well, guys, you know where we stand as it relates to this. We see it. You guys see it in our competitions, where we have now included on site, masseuse, mobile medical system, and we're going to make sure that this is part and parcel of what we are going to have for Team Fraser. None of any of you guys want to come in here as we speak about first aid and emergency, but we're going to throw that up as it relates to what we have in our manifesto for safety, first aid, and guess what? Medical insurance as well. Anyone want to chime in there?
Yeah.
I figure
to give my 2 cents on the under 20 situation. No, we have to understand and keep stressing and bear in mind of how important clubs are in the process of molding our players. No,
Correct.
our national club championship male divisions basically ended around 11 months to a year ago. So minus village leagues that are sporadic in areas, most of our players have not been seeing regular competition for around 10, 11 months, which is to our detriment. Now, we expect a level of quality when you get to the national team, but we also have to remember that players are groomed and are molded within their clubs because the clubs deal with them 75% of the time. Only the best out of clubs get to make it to the national level. But the clubs themselves are the one who mold players physically, mentally, psychologically. This is why club support and league support is so important to developing our national team, because you have to start at the very bottom for stuff to filter upward. We can't expect to have quality national youths who aren't being molded properly within their clubs and aren't facing regular competition here. Because, like I said, our club championship has been over for almost 10 months to a year now. And we expect them to go against semi-professional level players from Trinidad and Canada and compete at their level. So we have to put.
Keith, I think we finished in October or something of last year, 2023, right? So it won't be close to 11 months as yet. I think our club championship. Yeah.
You're speaking about the male divisions ended early up in the year. I was only speaking of the male divisions.
Oh.
So the overall competition went on because there were youth competitions and there was a female tournament that was ongoing. But the senior males basically ended all year up in the year, ended late February, and in March is when the premier was good as finished. And since then, there has been no level of competition where we can also express the fact that we only have our core players are from. We have to keep these things in mind when we assess our national teams, because as stated, Trinidad, Canada has professional players within their ranks, even at under 20, and we could see it. And we have to work with clubs to get our players up to a level where the standard could be greater than where it is right now.
Right.
What we're seeing is progress, but we know there's a lot more room for progress also to happen. And all we have to do is put the right structures in place, and it starts with getting the clubs in a professional manner. Now, as for the medical aspect of things locally, our manifesto speaks to increasing the level of medical facilities at games, not just having each club having their own physio or their own doctor, but the competition needs to have an independent doctor answer with medicine and with certain injuries. So we'd have to have nurses and our doctors at venues. We plan to ensure anything that happens during the competition would be covered by the insurance. So there would be no longer a fear of, boy, if I get my foot broken, what I'm going to do is my club will have to scrape together for give me some money. There would be no longer a fear of that because you will be covered by a national insurance policy, which our team is working on. We also plan to do more training with clubs and their personnel in getting their personnel up to a higher standard, improve our teams locally, our clubs locally, their standard of medical procedures.
Right, and we have a few more things coming in there. We're gonna leave those slides up so you can see definitely what we have planned. This is not a overnight. Don't may not have the funds to cover themselves, and we're gonna make sure that we attempt to cover them as best as we can. The YouTubers, I want to thank you and welcome you onto our program tonight. I know we did have a little issue with it at the beginning, but you are coming in hard and fast. We have some comments from the YouTubes. Chat. The Caribbean atmosphere and pitches will be a challenge for the Canadians. Comments coming in, and this is coming in from the brother Stu. Blessings, guys. Big up Roach, Roxel, Warren, Keith, Gregory, and my another YouTube comment. The national teams cannot be fixed on us at the club level. And I think we touched some of this, and we're going to go into what we want to and how we want to assist the clubs so that the product, guess what? The product that comes to the national team is almost on par with what they want to work with all together, not just some at a level. Also in the YouTube chat, to get SVG to World Cups. Once we accept this, we can start to move forward. Anybody want to come in here? We have medicals to deal with. We have our national coaches. And we also have the areas there as it relates to making our players and enabling our clubs and leagues. I want to say enabling our clubs and leagues to produce the product that we should really start with at the national level. Coming, guys, as we also bring up the slides of what we are offering, the assistance we are offering to clubs and leagues so that the product...
I mean, I could allow Azza to come in on this one too, but I believe that when it comes down to the coaching abilities that is required for our teams to reach to the next level, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, when it comes to our previous accolades and where we have reached a higher level of football and qualification, I think most of those times it was because of outside influences. I mean, outside coaching influences that gave us that level of success. And so to tell you the truth, the direction that most Caribbean countries are going, St. Lucia, Dominica, Trinidad, the complaints that you get in Trinidad is that, I mean, people believe that he is still not the quality needed to take Trinidad to the next level. But he is a qualified coach. But a lot of the times people want to see somebody outside of their country being their national coach, and they believe and the perception that is what will work. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, our success, like I've said, for World Cup qualifications and Gold Cup qualifications has been with persons outside of our country. And so that is one of the things that we have to look at. The standard of our coaches here, of course, we have to improve it. And those are things that we are planning to do, get our coaches up so that they could be employed anywhere, not just in St. Vincent's, to give them those jobs. And so when they reach that standard, we have no doubt that standard would also be seen across our clubs and leagues and our national teams. So it is correct and a fair assessment to say at present, the quality that is required of our coaches to get us to the World Cup level and the Gold Cup level is not here locally in our country, because of the demands and also what the qualifications are for what your senior male team should have. And so we continue to build on that, but we definitely have to revisit what we are doing when we place our coaches in positions based on qualifications and based on what we want to achieve. We have to be realistic right across the board. even if we get Ancelotti to come into St. Vincent now to coach our players and our different areas that we have to fix along the way. And so it's a holistic assessment that is necessary, but of course having the right people, the right coaches and everything in the right places goes a long way to what we want to accomplish and how we want it. And so our league and club support is definitely important, and what we do with our clubs and leagues and how we prepare them and the quality of players coming out of our clubs and performing and all the necessary things, the amount of games that we allow our players to play, the amount of international friendlies our national teams play, and competitive games, all of that is needed in synergy for us to accomplish where we want to go as a footballing nation.
Well, it seems like we're going from back and forth here tonight because we did have a plan, but guess what? You, the affiliates, you, the listeners, you, the viewers are the ones who are driving us tonight, and there are a number of comments coming in. And as we still talk about club and league support, gentlemen, there are a few other comments here. One, player succession from one setup to the next is a big issue that we face in St. Vincent and Grenadines. Also, player retention continues to impact gravely on our footballing quest. How would this team as easily and very quickly from one setup to the next? They're good in the under 17, and then you wonder, wait, where is Marvin? Where is Azza? Where is Camilo? Where is Ken Roy? And it's just to set up so that we can understand and know the numbers and the people. We've also spoke last program, of making sure that we have a proper documentation from club to club and have that on our platform as offered by Warren, right? So we can follow these individuals. Now, there must be a progressive move. And if you don't have the competitions and the units running, then you go on the 13 program, let's start there, on the 15 program, on the 17 program, on the 20 program, we have this, and on the 23 program, and obviously our national senior setup. This is not, or these are not going to run only, gentlemen, only listeners, when we have a competition down the road. We have to keep these going. And that's where we must make sure that we have personnel who are committed, who are involved, who are, guess what? Who are dedicated to the process. To continue training, funding is going to be needed. Can we write programs? Can we write policies? Can we write projects for this? We are ready, and we are ready on that, so that we can make sure that this continues to happen. And that is going to tie into a number of questions that are coming up here. The Vinci season, the Vinci League season is too short, and most of the league operates around the same time. I'm going to come to another question comment there in a bit. The average under 17 youth in Montreal who belongs to an AAA club has 2 soccer practice per week and 1 game. This is not including the other tournaments and friendlies. We are competing too much. Club officials are sidelining other club footballers because they are affiliated with a partner club. They will pick their ballers rather than the best. Comment coming in there. Quality coaching comes from functioning equipment, better financial support, and better financial support to the coaches. Well, guess what? That's what we are offering you guys in our manifesto. The place in Brighton is a dump. Oh my word. These are comments, huh? These are comments. These are not what we're saying. These are comments coming in from our viewers, our listeners. It is the most uncomfortable place for national team preparation. The accommodation setting is beyond acceptable. What will you guys do to improve it? I'm sure we have that in our manifesto. You want to come in there, Warren or Rohan Thomas Jr.?
Well, I think you made reference to the manifesto, and the manifesto is a document that shows the rounded approach that we're gonna take towards improving the product of football, right? And With a rounded and holistic approach, you have to consider all factors, infrastructure being one of the most important things. You are some people say you're as good as
You're muted. Yeah.
Oh, I was saying you made reference to the manifesto, right? Our document that outlines our rounded approach to improving the game of football. And infrastructure is one of the things that comes paramount in that plan. It is part of the holistic approach, and some people say you're as good as your facilities, right? So we need to upgrade our facilities, and we talk about performance, but going through and create the environment for success. So infrastructure development is very important, and it in 2019 when I was the manager. Um, it can be improved upon, but I think that site is in a little bit of a legal, I don't know how to put it, in a tangle whether or not to improve the facilities. I think there are plans to. But yeah, infrastructure development is important, and we need to improve the facilities that we use.
And
My jump in.
uh-huh.
Permit me to speak on the our selection process, because sometimes people are of the notion that everybody should be involved in definitive and clear pathway that everybody could see when it comes to how people make our national teams. And so we must be able as an executive, because transparency and inclusivity and all these things, integrity, are part of our pillars. We know who they can be following in school competitions, in club competitions, that they know for themselves are top performers. You can't divorce any of it. When I go to the Victoria Park as a football fan, a football lover, and I see a team play and control properly, scores proper goals and these kind of things, and then there's and he is 17 years of age, and then there's a under 20 team traveling, and he's not on that team, and I ask the question why. There should be some information coming back to be cut, because we have a better place to be able to at least see. Somebody is asking about the whole process and not looking from a perspective of bias, where people are selecting their players and not selecting other people's players because of affiliation. To speak for itself, and that is one of our day. We're talking about having a proper selection committee, using persons who played for the past national teams. We're talking about people who have represented our country in the defense, in the striking department, being able to come to the Victoria Park and go to these different areas, tournaments, the primary school tournaments, the secondary school tournaments, looking at the junior segment, the senior segment, and looking at the best quality players. So when it comes to the selection process to send into the national setup, these same players that you're seeing in schools who are the better players should already be attached to clubs that you're seeing also as the better players. So it makes it easier when they get into the national setup for people to. A lot of the infrastructure that are around St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we need to know belong to the government. And so we have decided that a lot of it must be in collaboration with the various stakeholders. You must engage and have fruitful discussion to be able to make these kind of improvements. You're talking about playing football matches, female and stuff, at facilities that don't have washrooms, and these are, I think, are a 25-year lease. I think it's 25-year lease. I'm probably saying the 99 is for Bishop College with the community of Paul's Avenue, but there's a 25-year lease, I think, with the Brighton facility that just was recently renewed, so that we could light the field down there and stuff. When you look at that, you have years to improve that facility. All it takes is proper planning and proper prioritizing. It is years that the facility has been that way. It has passed through a number of changes, yes, but some substantial changes need to be made to that facility to bring it up to speed. But in the absence of that, you continue to work to ensure that we have proper functioning facilities outside of Brighton. So you think about improving places like Caliqua and Sign Hill, these places that are continually used also for the sake of camping. But when that is completed, when that is finished, when we are able to do that assessment, when we get in off and put things in place to get that done, no longer should we be having our youngsters camp on mattresses and beds that are not comfortable and these kind of things. But it's a holistic process. The person who made the comment, and we plan when we get there, if you look at our manifesto, to improve a lot of things in football in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Because we really need to answer this question. I'm going to ask you guys, though, to be short and sweet because we only have 38 more minutes, I tell you. Seems as if we are in a different world. What is the reality? You folks are really in a vacuum. Guess you're not residing in St. Vincent. But wait, yes, you are. And most of you are part of the setup. So where are your contributions? So let me start answering. So contributor, my contribution at the St. Vincent and Grenadines Community College is providing educated professionals who can be used by the clubs to enhance your product. They're coming out with degrees, well, in this case, an applied associate's degree in sports sciences. And why we say applied? Because they're doing practical component. Members of your technical team are coaching them and teaching them to coach football. And so they are ready. They're coming out with a certificate from NACAC, which allows them the foundation to coach any sport at a basic level. They are completing sports medicine. They are stronger and better to deal with the difficult children we do have, but we love in our schools because they're completing courses in sports psychology, methodology, and pedagogy of coaching. So they are ready for you to use. Use them. Help them to advance and assist in your development. That's where my contribution is, and I will continue to do that. Once you offer me an opportunity to give and to be part and parcel of this process, you know my contribution goes without saying. And we're going to dig deep. And this is for everybody in here. Everybody in this group, Team Fraser, yes, we are part and parcel of the setup. Yes, we are doing our part. The other guys could talk. They can say what they want. They can add to this piece. But we are ready and willing to do even more.
I would like to add to the fact that I don't know when I have ceased to contribute to football in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in a positive way. I've always been contributing. I've always been a part of the positive contribution. In fact, there was a time when there was nothing that was going to be done on the Brighton Technical Center, based on the fact that there was the president before me stated that he was against the project being there in the first place. I was one of the persons that spoke with him at length and campaigned to have him work on that facility to get it from where it was initially to getting it up to speed. We ordered a container full of stuff from a region to get it here so that we could try to outfit that facility. Some of the stuff that you see out there at the time came because of the campaigning that I did to get them stuff here. And so it has always been stages of improvement. Now I could sit back and I could say that when you look at the facility, there's need for it to be upgraded. And that is the truth. But when you look at where it came from to where it is now, when you look at the plan that was in place and the way that it was built back then, even before my time, when I came and I met it that to have the field redone and the area fence. That project was done in the 15 months that I was the president. And so I've been continually contributing to the progress of football in St. Vincent. And I will St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and where we have contributed in sport in general has been tested and proven. Everybody from down in the Grenadines in Beckwith, coming all the way out in Diamonds area, going all the way Sign Hill, and in the community of Paul's Avenue and all these areas, every single body, Stubbs, Caliqua, everybody, and Raxel just told you that where he did his improvement. So everybody, I've contributed to football for over 25 years. And that is since I stopped playing, because I stopped playing at around the age of 23. And since then I went into management, coaching, and a lot of you know that where I took Avenues United across different competitions in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and where I have been on executives. And so we know that if we're going to speak of truthfully, that all of the people on Team Fraser, their character when it comes to building football in St. Vincent and the Grenadines have been tested, proven, and come out not wanting. So you can rest assured that with this team fully assembled and working together for the common vision and the common goal, that football in St. Vincent and the Grenadines will improve. And I'm telling you, you're not going to have to wait for 4 years to see any kind of improvement. You'll see improvement before then.
There we go. And we have more comments coming in there from out very, very far out there. He says he just woke up. I missed the live. Have some questions, but I will save them for the nonetheless great educational initiative. Well, boss, let me let you know that about 2 months ago, the community college had discussions with the Faculty of Physical Education and Sports, Barbados. And yes, we are trying to entwine the program into a full degree offering, but obviously program, and we must make sure we meet standards to do the degree program. Another comment, we need our fields lit and a home for football. Yes, we spoke about that as well. Any other guys? Anyone else want to comment before we go into our third and final aspect of what we wanted to give to the people tonight? Anyone else want to come in?
Yeah. So somebody talk about what was the question again, Raxel, about us disappearing? Could you repeat the question so we could really digest it a little bit?
Okay, so you want that question that I answered initially?
Correct.
Okay, so let's go. The question was, question statement. Night all. It seems as if we are in a different world. What's the reality? You folks are really in a vacuum. Guess you are not residing in St. Vincent. But wait, yes, you are. And most of you are part of the setup. So where are your contributions?
Okay, so let me start with something. That Brighton project that Mr. Fraser alluded to, way back in 2012 when Beckwith United started, that first year they put us up in a hotel in at Pars Avenue. The very next year we knew the Brighton project was there. We asked the Football Federation, we requested as a club, Beckwith United, that we use the Brighton project so that when we leave from Beckwith to come for housing us, moving for even up to today. Once we come to the mainland, and that's how many years now, right? So that's from 2013 to now, the 2023, whenever the 2024 season starts. So that's about 10, 11 years. We've been staying at the Brighton project. We ourselves had asked for the improvement of that project, which happened over time. I've also gone on to, from a player to managing Beckwith United. I'm now the president of Beckwith United Football Club. I'm an activist for better, for players, for clubs, for the leagues. for coaches, for referees. I'm an activist all the time for better for them. Also, I've been a volunteer at the national team from 2019, and I've spent 3 years being a volunteer. I've drove up and down this country. I've looked at players, many of whom have made recommendations, many of whom are still a part of these national teams. Also, up to recently, I've still made contributions to helping to find players for the U20. I've been fully involved, and I've never asked for a cent from the Football Federation. Never. So our contribution, my contribution to the Symington and the Grenadines football has been very, very, very deep and very, very close to me. I've continued to fight for better for Symington and the Grenadines football, and I will not stop the fight. All we're asking you to do is to put us there and judge us on our contributions that we want to make to everybody across Symington and the Grenadines.
All right. So the number that we have available for you to call, it's going across the screen there right now. And individuals asking about our manifesto. Right after the program, we'll put the link up on the Sportsbox page. But if you want us to send you it immediately, you can provide us with your email address. We can, which would be within an hour tonight, if not before that. We only have about 25 minutes remaining, and so we're gonna continue here. We have 2 more comments before we go on to item 3 of our proposed discussion aspects of Manifesto Dive in tonight. Respectfully, what are the quality of the other candidates? How many do you all committee of this executive, the committee that we're offering to you, are top-notch candidates? Top-notch candidates. And let's be, if you did not see it before, let's run it through for you very quickly for a minute and a half.
Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
We said it before, and we said it again. Only one clear choice. And you've just seen the team there, a team of hard workers, a team of people who have served football with distinction when given the chance. And we are asking you again to give us this opportunity to bring SVG football back to where it is supposed to be. Yes, this is the time for us to revitalize football as it was before. We're going to go into our very last segment, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to look at administrative areas. Yes, we want to look at administrative areas, gentlemen. Our ladies, our female counterparts are really taken up tonight. And so they're probably listening and enjoying what we're presenting. But let's go to the secretariat, gentlemen. The secretariat. Well, I can't do that because there's a call. Let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Football Future Talk with Team Fraser.
Good night, guys.
Good evening.
Team Fraser. Good night to the Fraser team.
All right.
Out of Bangladesh.
1 second. You guys get.
Great so far. I had a couple questions for you guys, but I fall asleep because I can't really do traveling.
All right.
But my whole thing, I as a football lover and a player, is a few questions that I need to ask the Fraser team. What will be your guys' first year plan? Because you have to be realistic in this thing. You cannot change everything in a space of 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do it in stages.
Correct.
It's something I want to know.
What will we complete? What do we have, minds to complete within the first year? I guess last week program would have answered some of that. But guys, come back and let's answer some of these questions for one of our national footballers who have served us with distinction. Anybody
Well, Roxel, of course we have spoken about these, and we were going to go into it, the secretariat. One of the first things that we have to improve and deal with in the first year is the administrative segment of our football. Right now, there's a lot of issues talking about, the lack of communication and all of that. If you have followed our manifesto, like we said, caller, the administrative segment of it, we're going to ensure that we improve that. We are going to ensure also in the first year that we improve our relationship with our stakeholders. And that is one of the things that we're going to improve. Thirdly, we're going to ensure that we improve our marketing aspect of our football, our website, get things going, those things. We're going to continue to ensure that we build on the aspect of our finances, the strengths that we have and will come and meet. We're going to ensure that we don't throw out the baby with the bathtub, the bath water, but those things that are worth keeping, we're going to ensure that we keep, which means that part of the administrative aspect is employing and ensuring that we strengthen the employment sector of the secretariat. So we're going to ensure that we have professional people working with what we have to continue to build and strengthen that aspect of it. So we're going to ensure that the football is run like a business sector. So the proper persons in the finance department, projects department, all of these things, HR department, operational policies, and all these things must be put in place. Job descriptions for all workers. You ensure that you do constant appraisals of staff and ensure that all of these things are functioning in the first year. Once these things are functioning, run along smoothly, you would be able to put all kind of educational aspect in place for your officials, for your coach, and including ensuring that the club licensing and league licensing is put in place for the first year based on a lot of the stuff that first year. So there's a number of things that you have to deal with that the statutes say that you have to try to get organized within a year. Those things we're going to ensure that we work on to get those things done. You have to ensure that your secretariat is functioning in all aspects. And once you get all of that sorted, everything else would function. Once you have a proper projects department and everything set up and lined up properly, then you would have that aspect of the football flowing to get funding, to ensure that your facilities are checked and looked after. Once you have the proper functioning finance department with a chief financial officer in place, a proper accountant, all these things in place, you don't have to worry about transparency and accountability. All of these things fall in line. So those are some of the first things you have to make sure within a year or within the first 15, 16 months. is in place, and then everything else would basically fall in line. You get your school program, schools committee, and working along with the ministries and stuff to get school football functioning, grassroots football functioning. Those things are things that could be accomplished within the first year to 16 months. The other aspects of things like the whole, so those are things that will be worked on, but they will not be completed. Other things like what I just stated would definitely be easier to deal with in the first year in office.
Well, Marv, you can't forget the professionalism and professionalizing of the National Club Championship, making leagues more sustainable. And we're definitely going to get our medical set up early. This has to be rolled very, very quickly. And that goes hand in hand with the new structure of our National Club Championship. Keith, you agree with me there?
I think the call is trying to ask other questions. Caller, we can't hear you too clearly.
Just dropped out a bit. Hold on, you just dropped out. Yes. How we gonna improve, caller?
We're gonna improve the quality of our local football, and we don't have to be losing players every year to other domestic countries. And we're gonna attract our players to stay home and play football and improve our league and improve the selection of the national process, and where we could just go to compete, not to participate.
All right. So what are we gonna do to ensure that we are not losing our national players, our quality national players, to semi-professional leagues around the Caribbean? Well, you're pushing us into what we want to do next week, but we can touch a little bit of that with our plan for a semi-professional league, which must, however, come after we've put all the things in place: clubs, club licensing, structuring of leagues, etc., etc. Anyone else want to more deeper tonight of these items?
Well, considering that we were gonna go in depth into that topic next week, I could just give a little brief overview. Now, what we have to do before we could even consider setting up a semi-professional league championship on our current leagues. Now, what has to happen is we need to restructure how club licensing is done and the implementation of club licensing. We need to develop league licensing formats so that we could have uniformity across leagues across the nation, so that there is consistency across the island, and we could create a streamline where it could be had, which would improve the quality of our local football. There's a lot of, we also need to find sponsorship, because our National Club Championship doesn't even have a sponsor. So there's a lot that needs to be done before we could even consider next week. But semi-professional is a long-term plan, but in the short term, we have to fix most of our in-place structures: the leagues, club licensing, club support, and things like medical setup, coaches. There are a lot of stuff that we need to improve before we could even consider semi-professional. When next week comes, we'll give a lot more detail, but that's just a basic introduction into our plans for the future. We can't just jump straight into semi-professional, but we'll give more detail about it next week. So there's more food for you to tune in next week.
Just to let you know, though, caller, that with what is on the immediate horizon is the fact that incentives for club, financial incentives, but we speak incentive on a holistic level, where we plan to improve on scholarship programs and stuff that clubs could tap into to ensure that the players, once they start functioning properly, that they are entitled to. We getting players out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Those kind of things help players to improve their standard. Once we get these things going and we have the clubs and stuff professionalized in a manner that the competition gears towards proper sponsorship, and that sponsorship is organized, then we could see more financial gains for clubs and that kind of things, and that will trickle down to the players. The national teams also, the product would improve, and there would be additional incentives offered for our national players, or even better opportunities for scholarships. There's going to be a scholarship fund, stakeholders and get that. But more than anything else, that scholarship fund is also, we are going to put into that scholarship funding. And so that aspect of it is also going to be looked at. You know, a lot of times people want to see how much you care before they actually put their own funding in. And so one of the things that I plan to do as a presidential candidate is to ensure that CONCACAF stipend that goes to the president goes towards a scholarship fund that sees too. So those are some of the things that we have in place to try to give incentives so that players would improve, clubs would be better, and all these kind of things. So we're moving forward, and we're going to move forward in a very positive light with this team.
Guys, there we have it. There we have it. I believe we may have to let's have the call. Has anything else to add tonight?
Yes, but like we're running out of time. I was on how we gonna improve the package, the national package, so we can attract like cows, private sector to jump on board, and so what we're gonna do improve our national team standard. So players on private sector could come in and say, okay, they wanna sponsor this initiative, they wanna come on board and help Quincy lift to a higher level. What we're gonna do going forward what we're gonna do to improve our national team.
How are we going to make our national team marketable so that we can attract the sponsors and it's a less lower financial burden, so to speak, on the organization? Basically, the idea here, and this is a question that is very, very well constructed, because we all have to be part and parcel of this. Some of the other guys have already spoken about inclusivity, where the leagues have to buy in, the clubs have to buy in, the coaches have to buy in, the players themselves have to buy in, so that we carry the product in a manner that is marketable. So when we go to these sponsors, these individuals that we will talk to you about a little later on, we can't give you everything right now, and we can't really give you who we're talking to and what we plan to do. People who want to come on board, Carla, they're ready to come on board to assist us. And we have already explained and laid out an impressive and a very detailed marketing strategy, because you are our flagship. Without a doubt, you are the team, the major team that sells everyone else. And we must make sure that you are marketable with all the personnel that we're going to bring on board to assist us pushing this product forward. Anyone else want to chime in there?
Caller. Sorry, Marvin, just two things. To be quick, statistical data collection and technology in terms of club and league management, all in one.
Caller, please provide us with a way so that we could send our manifesto to you, because a lot of the questions you are asking, I mean, I know you said that you came in a bit late, but a lot of the questions that you are asking, we addressed most of it before you came in, and our manifesto speaks to a lot of it. But I would just like to say to you that before you get to the product of our national, the players for our national teams are selected from clubs. And so one of the major things that we plan to do to build that aspect of the football, so that our national teams could be better, so that our FIFA rankings could go up, so that is to improve our clubs, so that they could build the players and build that aspect. We plan to do the same with the school. So those are some of the things that we spoke about, but you could read more of that in our manifesto. You could either WhatsApp us your email address, or you could email us. We will be able to provide that information for you. But those are some of the things that we have planned, and there's a lot of, like I said, you are going to witness a new era in football. You're going to see a difference, and once persons are truly on board and seriously want to be a part of this new movement, and forget the past and move on, we would see that we could build St. Vincent and the Grenadines football together.
Yes, there we go. There we have it. There we have it. We are winding down. We have 4 minutes, guys. I'm going to give you 30 seconds each to answer this question. But before that, we have 2 other comments that we have not dealt with. Link to the manifesto. Boss, we will send you that link. If you send us your email, we can definitely get it to you directly right now. But if not, at the end of the program, we're going to link that manifesto, put that manifesto link on the sports block, and it can be disseminated by anyone else who needs to. There's also one more comment. Impressed. Well done, guys. You have impressed another few bits of our football loving public tonight with what we've done. But you know what? There's one comment that I like you guys to answer because we only have 4 more minutes. 30 seconds each. You all just using football to eat a food. Eat a food, boss. Let me tell you, the days of me around the national unit, my stipend went into making sure the players are good. Yeah, it was used as incentives for them. Yeah, so the food that I might be working for, that I will be working hard for, goes back right into the product. And I've done that from since I've known myself in positions that God has blessed me with to help people around me. Anyone else? Are they eating the food over there? Anybody eating the food? No? No,
I think my food comes from my home. I get to eat when I'm at home. But if the person is talking about the local expression that people is trying to make money from football, I don't think anyone who actually goes into football and seriously love it could actually make money from it. If you seriously love football, football is something that could make you poor and not rich in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Until we get football to the standard that we want it to go, brother, I cannot see any of us really eating a food. But if we do get it that the way it should be, then I could tell you the truth, all eat a food.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else needs to comment on that one. It's done right there. Listen, this is what we're talking about. Team Fraser. Team Fraser. What are we? Who are we? Only one choice. The very, very, very clear choice. The only choice. Yes. Team Fraser. Team Fraser. We're going to bring those up, that up to you again. And we want to indicate to you that we still have a timeline that we're working on. And we will continue looking at this as we get closer. Well, some more information should be coming to us during the week. And we will push that out to you. Reminder of the team.
Artlist.io. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
So as we sign off this evening, I want to thank you for all of your comments, the call, the tremendous contribution, your questions. Just bring them at us as we continue. You were locked on to Football Future Talk with Team Fraser. We've completed 2 weekends. We have 3 more for you, and that's leading up to the elections, which are now slated for the 21st of March 2024. This is a team, the only choice, one clear choice. Team Fraser, guys, say good night, and then we could sign out.
Well, let me say good night to everybody. And let me remind everybody that football is just one aspect of life. The major thing that we have in life and the major possession that we have in life is our souls. And so we work to keep our souls right with God. Have a great night. Blessed night, everybody. One love.
Good night, everybody.
All right,
Good night.
that's where we sign off. That's where we sign off. Thank you for joining us. You can catch our program again next Saturday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. right here on the Sports Block, on the Bay Hill News Network, and all those other platforms.